My name is David Grant. I'm 38 years old, and I was dead for 7 minutes. It all happened after a brutal loss. A moment that changed everything. This is my story.
I know it sounds impossible. I would have thought the same thing, but it happened. I was alive, then I wasn't, and now I'm standing here speaking to you. How? That's the question everyone asks me. You see, I was just a regular guy living my life, going through the motions, but one day everything changed. It was a day that started like any other, but ended with me standing on the edge of eternity. Can you imagine what it would feel like to lose everything in an instant, to have the world around you, the life you thought you knew, completely torn apart? I thought I knew what loss was. I thought I understood pain, but then I experienced it on a level I couldn't even comprehend. And the most shocking part, I doubt. It all started with a phone call. That's how the story began. The call that would send my world into chaos. I remember the voice on the other end, distressed, hurried, but the words, they changed everything. It's over, David. He's gone. I couldn't even process it at first. I tried to breathe, tried to understand, but it was no use. The world went silent, and in that silence, I felt myself being pulled into the darkness. I was gone. I was dead. But in that moment of death, I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel anything at all, except peace. I found myself in a place of light, a place so pure, so serene. I thought I had finally arrived where I was meant to be, and that's when I saw it. Forgiveness. I was surrounded by people I didn't know, and yet there was no judgment in their eyes. No pain, just forgiveness. It was so overwhelming that I couldn't even understand it. How could someone forgive when they've lost so much? How could I forgive myself? I had spent years holding on to anger at the world, at myself, at those who had hurt me. But in that place, all that anger seemed so small. And then, a thought hit me. Could I ever forgive someone who had wronged me? Could I forgive someone who had stolen my peace, my happiness? It felt impossible, yet I realized in that moment of death that I wasn't the only one who needed forgiveness. What happened in those 7 minutes? How did I go from a man full of rage to a man of peace? Have you ever wondered if you could forgive someone who hurt you deeply, someone who wronged you so badly you thought you'd never be able to let go? Type your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about forgiveness. Is it really possible to forgive someone who doesn't deserve it? Or is it just a myth? It wasn't just one thing that led me to that moment. No, it was years of small choices that seemed insignificant at the time, but in hindsight they all pointed to a breaking point, a point where my heart had become so heavy, I could no longer carry it. I was never the person who let go easily. If you wronged me, I held on to it, and over the years it felt like I had accumulated a lifetime of resentment, anger, and regret. Relationships had crumbled around me, and I had built walls so high I couldn't see over them. I used to think I could handle it, but life has a way of testing you in ways you never expect. I had always been a Christian, or at least I thought I was. I prayed, went to church, even volunteered occasionally, but deep down I knew something was missing. I didn't understand forgiveness. I didn't understand how to love others when I couldn't even love myself. The closest I had ever come to real peace was during the moments when I felt distant from everyone, when I was alone in my thoughts and my pain. But those moments were few and far between, and even then there was always a nagging feeling, something unresolved, something left behind that I couldn't escape. It all came crashing down when I lost the person who meant the most to me. His name was Marcus, and he had been more than just a mentor. He was the person who taught me what it meant to truly live, to go after your dreams without fear, and to help others along the way. I had always admired his ability to see the good in people, to forgive those who wronged him, to love without conditions. I thought that kind of forgiveness was reserved for saints, not for people like me. But then Marcus was taken from me. The details of how it happened don't matter. It was sudden, violent, and left me broken. I couldn't understand it. He was taken from me in a way that felt unjust, unfair, and every time I tried to make sense of it, it felt like the world was closing in on me. I was angry, and not just angry at the world, I was angry at God. How could he let something like that happen? I had given my life to him, and yet I was left to suffer. It didn't make sense. If God was real, why would he allow this? So I stopped believing. I stopped praying. I stopped caring. For weeks, I was consumed by my grief. I shut myself off from everyone, my family, my friends. I couldn't bear to face anyone. The world kept moving around me, but it felt like I was stuck in place. I was trapped in a cycle of anger and sorrow, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break free. I began to resent people who still had their faith. I saw them smiling, going through their routines, and I thought, how could they be so naive? How could they live their lives pretending everything was okay when the world is so broken? The anger I felt wasn't just at the world, it was at the people who seemed untouched by the hurt that consumed me. Every prayer I prayed felt empty. Every Bible verse I read seemed hollow, and yet I couldn't escape the gnawing emptiness inside me. I had lost my faith, but in doing so I had lost more than just belief. I had lost hope. I had lost the ability to see beyond my pain. But then something strange started to happen. It wasn't immediate. It came in waves. At night when I was lying in bed, I would feel something stirring in my chest, like a whisper of peace, a flicker of something warm. I dismissed it at first, but over time, it grew stronger. The more I resisted it, the more persistent it became. I had to face something I wasn't ready to face. I was angry with myself, angry for letting my grief control me, for letting it turn me into someone I didn't recognize. I had become so consumed by my pain that I couldn't see the good in my life anymore. I couldn't see the people who cared about me, the blessings I still had, the opportunities waiting for me. I was trapped by my own pride, by my own inability to let go. But as much as I tried to fight it, I began to realize that the one thing I needed most wasn't answers to my questions, it was forgiveness. And that realization scared me more than anything else. I wasn't ready to forgive, not yet, but I had no choice. My life had reached a point where something had to change. I couldn't keep carrying this weight. I couldn't keep living in the shadows of my anger. It was in that moment of realization, when I finally let my guard down, that I felt it, the pressure in my chest, the sensation of something pulling me under. I thought I was having a heart attack. I wasn't afraid, not anymore. At that moment I felt something else. It was calm, peaceful, and it felt like I had finally stopped fighting. And then I died. I can't explain it, but I can describe it. One moment I was lying on my couch, the weight of the world pressing down on me, my heart racing from the pain of everything I had lost. The next I felt it, the pull. It was like being yanked from my body, like a sudden force dragging me away from everything I knew. I felt weightless, like I was floating in the air. But there was no fear, only a deep, suffocating sense of surrender. I thought about Marcus, my loss, everything that had brought me to this point. Was this it? Was this the end? I couldn't tell. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe. It was like I was suffocating, but I wasn't sure if I was still alive or if I had already crossed over. Then, just like that, I was somewhere else. I couldn't see anything at first. It was darkness, thick and consuming. And then slowly, I began to make out shapes, shadows that were moving, walking toward me. I didn't feel fear, just a strange sense of calm. It was almost like I was being drawn in, called by something I didn't understand. There was light distant at first, like a faint glow from a faraway horizon. As it got closer, the light grew brighter, warmer, and I felt it, a presence, a force I couldn't explain. It wasn't a person, but it felt alive, as though the very air around me was pulsing with energy. It was as if the light had a heartbeat, and the closer I got to it, the more I could feel the beat in my own chest. But it wasn't just light, there was warmth too, so much warmth. I could feel it deep within me, a comfort I hadn't known in years. Every muscle in my body relaxed, as if I had finally let go of the weight I had carried my entire life. I felt peace, deeper than anything I had ever known. The light began to shape itself, swirling around me, and I could see forms moving through it. Figures, but not like people. They were different, spiritual. I could sense their presence, feel their energy, but they had no faces, no eyes, no mouth. Yet somehow I understood them. I knew they were there to guide me, to show me something. And then a voice, not in my ears but in my heart. Do you see? Do you understand now? I don't know how long I stood there, if time even existed anymore, but I had this overwhelming feeling that I wasn't just being shown the world around me, but the world within. Every single moment of pain, every instance of bitterness, every hurt I had ever experienced, felt as if it was playing out before me. I saw every fight I had ever been a part of, every time I had lashed out in anger. I felt all of it, the weight of it, the consequences of, and in that moment I realized how much of my life had been built on unresolved pain. Then, just as quickly as the light had come, it faded, but I wasn't in darkness anymore. I was standing in front of something, It was a figure, standing in front of me, shrouded in white, glowing like the light I had just seen. But it wasn't just the light that drew me in, it was the feeling. The peace I felt around this figure was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It wasn't just warmth, it was love. The figure stepped forward, and I knew, deep in my soul, that this was not just any figure. This was the figure I had heard about in church, in books, in whispers of faith. This was God. But it wasn't just the voice that spoke to me, it was the presence, the deep, knowing peace that filled me. And somehow I understood, this wasn't the end for me, not yet. The figure pointed to something behind me, and I turned. There, standing just a few feet away, was a scene I couldn't ignore. It was a scene from my life, the years I had spent wrapped in my anger, in my pride. I saw the people I had hurt, the opportunities I had missed, the relationships I had destroyed. It was like I was looking at the moments I had been too blind to see before. It was me, but it wasn't. I wasn't just seeing the people I had hurt, I was feeling it. The hurt I had caused, the pain I had inflicted, every lie I had told, every grudge I had held, all of it came rushing back. I saw the faces of my family, my friends, and then I saw the faces of the ones I had never forgiven. And the voice spoke again. Forgiveness is the key. It wasn't a question, it wasn't a plea, it was a statement, a truth. And in that moment something inside me broke. I wasn't just seeing the faces of those I had wronged, I was seeing the faces of those who had wronged me. And for the first time in my life, I felt what forgiveness really meant. It wasn't about them, it was about me. The anger, the resentment, it wasn't theirs to carry anymore. It was mine, and I had the power to let it go. But then, just as I felt a deep peace fill me, I was pulled away. The light began to dim again, and I could feel myself being drawn back to the world I had left behind. The presence, the peace, it was all slipping away. I wanted to hold on, I wanted to stay, but I couldn't. And then the voice, clear as day, whispered one last time, forgiveness is the path to true freedom. Before I knew it, I was back in my body, gasping for air. My heart was racing, but it wasn't in fear, it was in shock. I had seen the truth, I had felt the truth, and now I was back in the world, carrying that truth with me.
I awoke with a jolt, my chest heaving, heart pounding. The world around me came back in fragments, sharp edges, noise, light, and I felt like I was waking up from a long, unsettling dream. But it wasn't just the physical world that had come rushing back. It was something deep, something realer than I had ever known. I wasn't sure how long I had been gone, minutes, hours, but what I felt, what I knew, was that everything had shifted. In the moments after, I struggled to grasp what had just happened. I wasn't sure if what I had seen, what I had felt, was even real. But then the voice echoed in my mind. Forgiveness is the path to true freedom. It wasn't just a phrase. It wasn't just words. It was truth. It was the truth I had been avoiding for my entire life. As I lay there staring up at the ceiling, I realized something. I had been living in a prison, not a prison of bars or chains, but a prison of my own making. My unforgiveness, my anger, my inability to let go of the past. They had all been walls I had built higher and higher, thinking they would protect me when in reality they had only kept me locked in. I had held on to anger like it was a badge of honor, like it was my right. People had wronged me, they had hurt me. But what I never realized was that holding on to that pain was like holding on to a burning coal, thinking it would hurt them. But in the end, it only burned me. How could I have been so blind?
I had allowed myself to be a prisoner to the past, letting old wounds dictate how I interacted with the present. And now, here I was, free from my pain, my anger, my hate. But the question I kept asking myself was, how do I move forward now? It didn't come easily. It never does. After everything I had seen, everything I had learned, it still felt impossible to put it into practice. I remember standing in front of the mirror the next day, staring at my reflection, feeling like a stranger. I was still the same person, physically, but inside, I felt like I had been reborn. My heart was open, raw, and vulnerable, but it was alive in a way it had never been before. Forgiveness had never seemed like an option to me before, not in my relationship, not in the things that had happened to me, but now, it seemed like the only choice that would set me free. I wasn't going to forgive because I was told to. I wasn't going to forgive because it was the right thing to do. I was going to forgive because I had seen the cost of not forgiving. I had felt the weight of holding on to pain for so long. But as I stepped out of my apartment that morning, into the life that I had left behind, I felt this sudden overwhelming doubt. Could I truly forgive the people who had wronged me? Could I forgive myself? The old me, the version of myself who had spent years building walls, doubted. It wasn't easy to break free from a lifetime of emotional baggage, and I could feel myself trying to resist the chain. It was as if I was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to leap or step back into the safety of what I knew. But I had already leaped. I had already made the choice. It wasn't just about forgiving the people who hurt me. It was about forgiving myself. All the mistakes, the regrets, the things I had held against myself. I realized that I couldn't move forward, not truly, until I had let go of everything, every ounce of guilt, every lingering self-blame. The first step wasn't grand. It wasn't some heroic moment of clarity. It was small, quiet, almost unnoticeable. It was a phone call. I called my father that night. Our relationship had been strained for years. We had never seen eye to eye, and I had carried so much resentment toward him for the things he had said and done, for the things he never said or did. But that night, after everything I had seen, I found the courage to pick up the phone. I called him, and when he answered, I simply said, "I forgive you." There was silence on the other end of the line. It felt like the air between us had thickened, like the years of distance and anger had been suddenly cut open. And then, his voice cracked, just a little. I forgive you too, son." In that moment, I felt something shift. Something inside me broke free. It wasn't about reconciliation. It wasn't about fixing everything. It was about releasing myself from the hold that anger had on me. It was about letting go of the past, one small piece at a time. The next morning, I woke up, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel the weight on my chest. I felt lighter, freer, like I had shed a skin that had been suffocating me for years. And I thought about all that I had seen, the figures in the peace that came from forgiveness, the love I felt from something beyond myself. And I realized I wasn't just forgiven by those I had wronged. I was forgiven by God. And it was then that I knew this was only the beginning. I stand before you today, a man forever changed by what I saw, what I felt, and what I learned. It's hard to explain just how much a single moment can change everything. One moment, 7 minutes of my life, changed the way I see the world. It showed me the truth I had been running from for years. It taught me the one lesson I could never have learned in any book, in any church sermon, or from any conversation with a counselor. Forgiveness is freedom. Since that day, my life has not been the same. I went back to the same world, the same routines, but something had shifted within me. My eyes were open to the things that really mattered. I could see the beauty in the little things, the way the sun sets over the horizon, the sound of laughter from my loved ones, the simple joy of being alive. Before I died, I had lived my life chasing after things that didn't bring me peace. I had chased after revenge, after grudges, after validation from others. But when I came back, I realized the only thing that truly mattered was love. Love for others and love for myself. I began to reach out. I reached out to old friends,
to family members I had shut out. I reached out to those I had hurt, and in turn, I began to heal the parts of me that I didn't even realize were broken. The most shocking part of it all wasn't just that I forgave others, it was that I began to forgive myself, and that, I think, was the hardest part. I had spent so long carrying the weight of my mistakes, my failures, my regrets, but when I let go, it was as if the chains that bound me had finally been broken. I wasn't just free of the people who had hurt me, I was free of myself, free of the anger, the guilt, the shame that had kept me from living fully. But even though I felt this freedom, the journey wasn't over. The lessons I learned in that place, those moments of peace and clarity, continue to echo through my life, and they always will. But here's the thing, forgiveness isn't a one-time thing. It's not a magic switch that you flip and then everything is fine. It's a choice. Every moment, we will always encounter people who hurt us, situations that cause us pain, and we can choose to hold on to it to carry that weight, or we can choose to forgive. And that's where I'm at now. I still struggle. There are days when I feel like I've been wronged, when my anger rises, and the pain of the past comes rushing back. But now, I know I have the power to let it go. I don't have to let it control me anymore. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. I'll probably always be learning. But what I do know is this: forgiveness is the key to unlocking the peace we all crave. Now I want to ask you something. After everything I've shared, after everything I've gone through, can you forgive? Is it possible to forgive someone who has hurt you so deeply that the wound feels like it will never heal? Is it possible to forgive someone who has betrayed you, broken you, or taken something from you that can never be replaced? Do you believe that forgiveness can truly set you free? Or do you think it's just something people say to make themselves feel better? Think about it. I know this is a controversial question. Some of you may believe that some things are unforgivable, but I want to hear your thoughts. Can forgiveness really heal a broken heart? Or are there lines we shouldn't cross, even in the name of healing? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Let's have a real conversation. Because forgiveness isn't just a lesson for me, it's a lesson for all of us. And if you've ever felt a weight of anger or regret in your life, know that there is a way out. You don't have to carry it anymore. You don't have to be a prisoner to the past. You don't have to let it define you. You can be free, just like I was. I know that forgiveness isn't easy, but I also know that when you finally let go of that burden, the world looks a little bit brighter. Life feels a little bit more hopeful, and your heart feels a little bit lighter. And I hope that after hearing my story, you'll choose to forgive, to let go, to heal. Because when you do, you'll find that the peace you've been searching for is already waiting for you. You just have to open your heart and let it. I used to think holding on to anger made me strong. But what I found was the weight of it nearly crushed me. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about freeing yourself. But here's the question: can you forgive the ones who've done the worst to you? Or are there some things too broken to heal? I want to know, is forgiveness always the answer? Or is it just a way to forget the pain? David's testimony has shown us the power of forgiveness, healing, and the need for unity in a divided world. How do you think forgiveness can change lives and nations? Reflect on this message and share your thoughts in the comments below. How can we heal as a society? If this story moved you, subscribe now to hear more life-changing NDE stories and powerful testimonies that offer deep insights into the afterlife and spiritual healing. Don't miss out. Hit the notification bell so you're always the first to hear the next incredible transformation.